So I have a new sheet music edition out for Carcassi's Op.11, which is 10 petite pieces. These are 10 intermediate level pieces, early intermediate to intermediate, 10 of them, and they all range from 2 pages to 4 pages, and there's even a set of variations at the end. So there's a link for that sheet music underneath the video if you want to check it out, but by all means just follow the lesson for free and pick up some tips as we discuss the music. So I'm really happy to have found Op.11 because they're just charming examples of the classical style. They're not super daring compositionally, but they're just really nice. They're kind of Mozartian in their style, and they work really well on the guitar. There's minimal barring and just like they generally work, but there's a few little sections that you'll have to work on and a couple chord shapes that you'll have to check, but they have a nice length to them for the level that they represent. So I'm really excited to present all 10 pieces from the opus. I'll be recording them, the videos for them gradually as I go. I'll kind of have them in the background and put one out every once in a while. So we'll have a little lesson on it, but for the most part, these pieces you're playing legato and you're following the musical line as much as possible. It's usually just goes from one voice to a different voice, maybe the upper voice, and then it's on the lower voice. So you're just tracking some melodic figures throughout the piece. And I fingered it, fairly lightly, but I think I've put in all the important fingerings. And then in terms of right hand fingering, there's not too much in the score, but I usually place a little bit here and there just if there's something that we want to make sure we're looking at. In this particular work, there's not much to do except play as legato as you can within the phrase and follow the moving line. There's not too much like thick counterpoint ever. It's more like just follow the dominant musical line. But on a couple of occasions, there are some bass lines that add up to something more significant. So for example, in bar 10, you have this bass line. It's like a real scale passage and musical line. And then you have it again in the next one. So there's some activity going on, but like the melody kind of shifts from the upper voice to the lower voice there. So you have some melodic tracking to do throughout the piece. But for the most part, just you want a pretty steady but elegant rhythm and pulse the whole time. And then you're just trying to play through these different textures, musical textures, in a legato way as possible. So let's just do a quick walkthrough of the piece. You can use any fingering there. I include my thumb on the lower notes, and then when the bass line comes in on bar 2, I use my thumb just so that it's even the whole time through there, that the bass voice just gets that thumb. You can mute the bass notes when he has a rest there. Sometimes you don't have to, you can let some of them ring, but for the most part I would follow the rests. A little bit more intensity here. Just make sure you're following my fingering. Sometimes you'll do a passage, you just have to set up the correct finger so that the next chord is legato. That's not Carcassi's fingering there, it's mine, but it just works really well. You don't have to stretch out on one string. F on the second string, then open string to shift. Some of those sections make the piece just a little bit more on the intermediate side because beginners would have some trouble with some of these shapes in the bar A, but so minimal. As long as your basic early intermediate technique is taken care of, I don't think you'll find any difficulties in these pieces. Here's the theme again. He's adding some dynamics. And piano, louder, and then some rhythmic variation here. Some of those, just make sure you're ready for those barres. Pretty straightforward though. You usually always have like an open string first, so you can easily set up for them. I like to hold that. That's why I'm using that fingering. I like to hold that bass note until the middle of the bar, just so you get a little bit of, a little bit of harmony happening there. I don't add a lot of right-hand fingering in the piece, in any of these pieces, but on occasion I'll throw in some. So I threw in some there just because some students might not know what to do there. I decided to go P-I-M-A-M-A-M-I-M-P. There's lots of other solutions, but when you have that many notes, you're going to run out of fingers for the traditional ones, so you could do all sorts of different things. That's what I came up with, so if you're stumped on that one, just follow my fingering. P-I-M-A-M-I-M-P. You just have that kind of awkward string crossing at the very end with the M finger, but it's only one little part that you have to pay attention to. So you could do some other fancy fingerings, but I think that one's a good one because you can just focus on that one little thing. And then you have those fortissimo chords at the end. For that 6-note chord, or 5-note chord, sorry, I just sweep my thumb over the bottom 2 strings. That kind of sweeping motion, you just kind of overstroke and hit both of them so that you don't have to do anything. You don't necessarily have to roll it or something. It's kind of nice to have those block chords as if you were a pianist, right?